saw the doors of Bombay's newest College of Commerce and Economics open wide at dawn. HR College was the first college in Maharashtra to be accredited A grade with a score of 87.95% by the NNAC under the revised scheme for 2002. NNAC has awarded HR College with a CGPA of 3.72 on a scale of 4, the highest CGPA in India under the revised scheme and the highest score in Maharashtra till date. The college has achieved excellent academic standards while simultaneously created opportunities for all-around development of students through sports and cultural activities by transferring the responsibility of learning onto the learner. The college empowers students and fosters young leaders. Today, we all have gathered to celebrate World Environment Day. World Environment Day is observed on 5th of June every year to remind people about the importance of nature. The day is celebrated across the world to inform people that nature should not be taken for granted and must be respected for its values. It is important to note that the World Health Organization has joined UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, a mission to reverse the degradation of ecosystems and the diversity of life they sustain. The theme of this year's World Environment Day is Reimagine, Recreate, Restore, as this year marks the beginning of the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. This day is observed across the world to respect and acknowledge everything that the environment has given mankind, and to take the pledge that to protect it. Now, may I please request Dr. Rani Tyagi, Assistant Professor of Department of Environment, Chair Exam Committee, Convener of Admission Committee, and Faculty in charge of Hostel Life Association, to please welcome and introduce our Principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani.
Thank you, Raisha. It is said that leadership is about vision and responsibility, not power, based on cooperation, not domination, and on inspiration, not influence. It is my absolute honor to now call upon someone who does complete justice to this and more, of a backbone and an unending source of inspiration, Principal in charge of HR College and Dean Commerce and Management of HSNC University, Mumbai, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani. Ma'am, we welcome you. Please share your thoughts with us, ma'am.
Thank you, dear. And I think it's my honor to be a part of one of a unique club in colleges, which I can say is only in very few colleges, which is Nature Club. I've not seen such clubs being prevalent in many colleges. And I must say, as a proud HRite, that such club exists under the mentorship of Dr. Chandni and the EVS department, inclusive of Dr. Rani and Dr. Chandni. And I have seen many programs, especially the nature walk, the heritage walk that they take in Mumbai. They used to take the children around and show them the heritage buildings, then take them to Juhu beaches and clean the beaches there. I think such has been a strong values that we instill, or we want to give it to our HR brand ambassadors, that yes, you are stalwarts, yes, you are achievers, but you have a responsibility. And you have a responsibility of your society. You have a responsibility of your own environment. And today, Nature Club and Department of EVS of HR College has come together to celebrate World Environment Day, which is on 5th June, to re-emphasize that yes, we need to reduce wastages. Yes, we need to recycle more and more, whatever we can, so that the wastages do not go into environment and harm environment more and more. And we need to recycle. So reduce the wastages, recycle, and try to recreate and put lesser pressure on environment. And today's talk by two of our eminent personalities is one of an opportunity and a platform that our brand ambassadors are creating for others, that yes, we are responsible citizens. We want to contribute to our environment, not in terms of wastages, but in terms of using resources in such a way that we do not put pressure onto it. I think current 1 year of pandemic, more than 1 year of pandemic has taught us. Initial few months, there were many positive reports despite Corona. You know, world has become lesser polluted, sky is clean, birds are enjoying. Of course, we were enjoying at our homes, being locked up, but birds were free to fly, skies were turning bluer, cleaner, sea were getting lesser pollution. And I think we have to go back to the same thing, of course, minus Corona, that we do not harm our rivers, we do not harm our land, we do not harm our air, and all the resources that the mankind or the earth has given us. We should respect them, we should protect them and reduce the wastages as far as possible. And I must appreciate the efforts of Nature Club, the Department of EVS, and my brand ambassadors. I always tell them, because whenever I speak to or see my brand ambassadors, I see them as responsible students, responsible citizens, and the efforts that they take to ensure that they want to bring in messages of lesser and lesser harm to the environment. So hearty congratulations and wishing you all the best on this World Environment Day, which is 5th June, and to HRites, please, please, please save your environment. It is necessary, because our children will one day stand up and say, what did you do to the environment? You did not leave anything for me. So let's give them this heritage to our children and their children, so that we can say world was and is still beautiful. So over to you, Nishita and the team, and hearty congratulations. And once again, warm welcome to both the speakers in HR virtually, and I'm sure once pandemic is over, offline in the college premises. So all the best.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a great and insightful words. I would now like to introduce our respected Vice Principal, Dr. Naveen Punjabi, to share with us his thoughts on the subject.
Respected Principal Ma'am, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, Dr. Chandni Bhattacharya ji, the faculty in charge of Nature Club, and the head of Department of Environmental Studies, Dr. Rani Tyagi, chair examination and a member of the Environmental Studies Department, and of course our two very important guests, Ms. Iyer and Mr. Harshad. We are thankful that you have taken out time to address this very important issue. My apologies that my Wi-Fi just conked off, so I've come from my mobile data. So that's why I was keeping my video off. So yes, it is a very important day that environment has given us so many things. We are only taking from the environment. And when it comes to respecting the environment, that is what sensitivity we need to create. And that's what the mission of the Nature Club has always been, where they've tried to promote various causes, be it solid waste management, be it waste segregation, be it recycling, be it reusing. Before the esteemed guests were joining in, we were also discussing our college matters, that how can we have solar panels, how can we save groundwater, how can we do different methods. So the whole objective is to sensitize students and to be part of it, that the environment has given us so many things and we need to respect that, we need to protect that. And we have seen, if we do not respect the environment, what devastation it can do. Just few days ago in the cyclone, I'm sure many of you have seen trees falling, cars getting smashed, a lot of people having trouble, the floods in Kerala, different parts of Orissa. So all these things that we have seen in the last couple of years, or time immemorial, environment has always tried to remind us that if we don't respect it, it's going to trouble us. So my only humble appeal to everyone is that we need to respect the environment and respect it very, very carefully, because if we don't do that, it's going to be a very, very devastating scenario for all of us. With this note, I congratulate the entire team on organizing this wonderful event on this day, which is a very important global event. It's not just HR College, not just India, but across the globe, as the introducer rightly said, that it's a adopted day across the globe. And wish you all the best for this wonderful event, and thank you for organizing the same. All the very best.
Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. On this occasion of World Environment Day, we, The Nature Club heartily welcomes you to our webinar with Ms. Hamsa Iyer and Mr. Harshad Gupta as our speakers on waste management. There is no such a thing as away. When we throw anything away, it must go somewhere. The webinar aims to show you the ways to reduce waste and concentrate more on the best out of waste to have a hygienic and a safe future. I would now like to invite our teacher in charge and our source of undying motivation, Dr. Chandni Bhattacharjee, to speak a few words on today's enlightening session.
Thank you so much, Lisha. And I must appreciate, Lisha, that you're trying to speak and come forward and present a session like this. We need you all to come forward. We need you all to break this fear that you all have. And you never know, one day you will be one of the best speakers and one of the best compares in the country. So congratulations for shedding that fear and coming forward and talking today to everybody. And I'm sure the principal ma'am, I'm sure the vice principal sir, I'm sure Dr. Tyagi, all of us appreciate that you could do that. I will also tell you a
Thank you,
small little story about my childhood, perhaps, because we were posted when we were very young in a place in Jharkhand. In those days, it was Bihar. And occasionally we used to see wild animals which would come in into our houses. So I do remember one morning that we were woken up and people around us called out that don't get out of your bungalow today because there are elephants trampling around in your bungalow. And that was perhaps, and then I'm sure people who don't stay in Bombay, for you it's absolutely like it's a wild place. Maybe we were there, but no, it was pretty much a mining town, and civilized people stayed there. So in all of that, we had a forest department which came in, but one little baby calf stayed back and wouldn't go from our house. And she stayed with us for 2 to 3 days, and finally they had to take the baby away after putting tranquilizer, because the mamas want the babies back. I'll cut this to another episode where I had a student a few years back who was my nature club student, and I think some of you would have met him. His name was Arjun. He was trampled by an elephant because he's a crazy guy. He stays in the forest. He's out finding new species. He's a snake catcher. He was plinning elephants, and one elephant came and trampled him. These are behaviors. Don't take these lightly. These behaviors clearly tell you that animals are getting threatened in their ecosystems. And that is what I want to leave you with. It's not only waste, it's the ecosystem, which is very important. And your world environment today, which started in 1972, way back, you were not even born. And I must also say that 1972 seems very far away, but look at the achievement that the whole world has done. So, I mean, from 1972, what's important is this year, you start a decade. And this decade will be a decade of ecosystem restoration. And that's why we will have to put in our best. It's not my decade only, it's your decade. It's not Hamza ma'am's decade, it's not Harshad sir's decade, it's your decade. So you'll have to work hard. You'll have to ensure that this ecosystem is not challenged. You don't want leopards in your houses. You don't want wild animals in your houses, right? So you might as well, if you want them to stay in their places, you better don't enter into their places, right? It's as simple as that. So with that note, I'll leave it to the next two speakers who are the guest speakers for the day. And one more thing is, I feel very happy because when I see the mean age of speakers today, I feel very old. Because all the speakers today and leaders today, the CEOs today are actually so young, and it's so appreciated that they have taken up a mantle, which I think we could not at that age. We were still struggling with our nets and the sleds and our PhDs, and I don't know how many other things. So congratulations to the two speakers. Congratulations to this entire team who has thought about bringing this forward. I hand this back to you, Lisha. Let's get started with the program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your insightful words. Without any further delay, I would now like to introduce our speakers, Ms. Hamsa Iyer, who is persistent sustainability practitioner. Ms. Hamsa is passionate about all the things related to sustainability and eco-friendly lifestyle. She believes in walking the talk and contribute to big changes, which leads to make the world as we aspire to be. And Mr. Harshad Gupta, His passion and enthusiasm towards making a beautiful world made him the founder of EcoCrypt Foundation. He has a rich experience of working towards sustainability, to be specific in solid waste management and capacity building. He also works towards the capacity building for the youth, primarily related to waste management through various programs that are meant for upskilling them to work in the sector. So here we have Ms. Hamza and Mr. Harshad on board with us to share their thoughts and experiences on the subject, as well as to help us find new ways to reach our goal of quality lifestyle. Over to you, Harshad sir and Hamza ma'am.
Lasha, maybe let's have Hamza ma'am first, then we'll go with Harshad sir. Yeah. So Hamza ma'am, can we have you first speak, please?
Oh, I thought I was going second.
All right, then maybe then we'll request Harshad sir.
Yeah, hi, thank you for inviting and taking up this initiative of organizing such a program on today's occasion, that is World Environment Day. And like the ma'am said earlier, Dr. Pooja said earlier, uh, I was hearing a lot about your initiatives of your college and the observations that ma'am shared as well. Uh, so once it comes to initiatives, would come to that point as well. But the observations that she shared was really insightful, and it is really true that we have seen those changes in 2020 compared to 2021 when we were in partial lockdown, and the level of pollution that we have observed in the metropolitan cities like Delhi and Mumbai. I am a person who lives in Delhi, so I have seen a drastic change in pollution levels once it comes to 2020 compared to 2019 and the previous years and 2021 when it was a partial lockdown. And not only this thing, but the things which are associated with the pollution levels, like the uh, rain cycle got completely changed in Delhi. We hardly were able to observe a rainfall in the month of May, but yes, we observed it. And the mountain regions were experiencing snow back in April, which was not expected. So this is just because of the fact that climate change is happening, and it is the right time to go and work on these pressing issues beyond volunteering. Uh, as ma'am also mentioned that the college itself has been conducting a lot of initiative when it comes to cleanup drives, nature walk, heritage walk. So I'm really glad to see that the college has been doing such great initiatives under its nature club. So as I proceed ahead in this talk, then would be sharing my insights upon what can be the career opportunities in the waste management sector. Since we know the fact that there is a lot of problem once it comes to waste management, not only specifically related to solid waste, but also to other types of waste as well. But it is really important to look up to this sector beyond just volunteering, beyond just cleanup drives, to building a career ahead in this particular sector once it comes to waste management. And since we are in a decade when we call it as a decade of action, 2020 to 2030, sorry, 2021 to 2030, a decade of action where we need to moreover work upon our actions. And once it comes to actions, our work speaks better about our action. So doing something that really matters a lot in terms of action oriented stuff, so would be really great. So would ask the organizing team to share the PPT that I have shared with them.
Jayesh, please start sharing your screen.
Yes, ma'am. Is it visible?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Yes, it is. So as we go ahead, like I said earlier, that careers in waste management, And who am I to say about the careers in waste management? So let me introduce you about what I do and what my organization goal is. So I represent this organization named EcoChub Foundation. EcoChub is a not-for-profit entity. EcoChub is a not-for-profit entity which is working towards building itself as a virtual sustainability school. And once we say it as a virtual sustainability school, then we are Asia's first virtual sustainability school, which is working on upskilling youth to become employable in this sector, not only in the waste management space, but since it is a virtual sustainability school, we have a lot number of things aligned. But as I am here in terms of talking about waste management, then yes, we work on the waste management, educating in terms of waste management as well. And being on my side, like what I have done in the past and what I have been up to. So apart from EcoChub Foundation, we have I have worked with the grassroots level organizations. And once it comes to grassroots level organizations, these are governmental and non-governmental organizations who are working in creating circular economy, not only around solid waste, but also are related to other arenas. Okay, so working upon this, bringing circular economy in the grassroots levels, and in a sustainable way. Once I say it's sustainable, then economical as well. And since we see a lot that there are a lot of projects which have been happening every now and then, but the sustainability in terms is not only in terms of environment, but also in terms of how we can build those projects in a financially sustainable way. So yes, and apart from that, I am also co-chair at Youth for India, Youth for Sustainable India Alliance, and I work with them in terms of as a co-chair to on the same objective in terms of education on how we can educate the youth to upskill them and get them more employable in terms of the climate change sector. So yeah, so as I go ahead to the slide, so since we see a lot of numbers over here, so we have been seeing the change in terms of the waste generation around us. And here are some specific numbers that I have put in this slide to measure the impact that is there on the national level once it comes to India. Okay, so what is the amount of waste being generated in India? So there is somewhere around 277 million tons of solid waste being generated in India per year. And once it comes to the India's contribution in South Asia in waste generation, then it is 80%. In South Asia, around 80% of the waste is generated in India specifically. And once it comes to the global level, then 13% of the global waste is being generated per year in India itself. So you know the amount of waste that we guys as citizens of this nation are generating each day. And the fact is not hidden from us, since we see this thing on daily basis around us as well. So now coming on to the next part of it, uh, once it comes to the waste management and this ecosystem, how this ecosystem really looks into the picture. Uh, since you know that there are many issues which are associated with waste management, and what is a waste management, and to be specifically the solid waste management, what is solid waste management or municipal solid waste management? So once it comes to this ecosystem, then there are moreover the issues of dumping, which is highlighted by the first statement that waste dumps have adverse effects on the environment. Uh, Majority of the sites that you see are not usually called as landfill sites, but these are usually the dumping sites. And we have seen the effects of these dumping sites once it comes to leachate and other issues. Then once it comes to Delhi specifically, then we have somewhere around three landfill sites, but now moreover can be recognized as a dumping sites, where we have seen the height of these dumping sites to be uh, more than a Qutub Minar's height, and they fall each year and leads to the death of somewhere around 5 to 10 people each year. this year itself, where the incident happened in February, somewhere in February, where somewhere around 4 to 5 people died.
False, but other consequences that usually comes up in and around those areas, which can be prevalent with the example that I can give it to you, is near to Delhi is a place, in Delhi NCR, we have a place called Gurgaon. In Gurgaon itself, there is Aravali ranges, and due to the construction, these Aravali ranges have been exploited a lot. And once it comes to exploitation, the another example through waste management, how the things are really happening. So there is a dump site which have been created over there. We call it as a Bhandwari dump site, and it is named with the name of the village. And the consequences which are coming up over there is that the people which are residing in and near to that location have experienced that their groundwater level is getting polluted, and it is leading to the major disease among them. And since the government as well as the private entities are experimenting and prototyping the waste to energy power plant uh, near to that site, dump site, then they have observed the release of in the air quality. In the air quality, they have experienced that there is a major deterioration, and the scientists have also found the particles of dextrans and furans, if you're aware how much they are hazardous to the health of the individual once they inhale it, and can lead to a cancer in long run. So there is a lot of issues once it comes to these dump sites. Okay, and why we need to work upon these issues, then through these case studies we can it makes us most prevalent to work upon these issues. And the methane production from the dump site, which causes the pollution, is a most common thing. It is not it is not a new thing for us, but it's a more prevalent thing. Coming on to the third point, which is the uncontrolled burning of waste at the dump sites, which releases the particulate matter particles. So this PM particles are really, once it comes to their contribution in the air pollution as well, then it is a lot. And I believe that in Mumbai as well, you guys uh, have been observing the facts as well from the not in the recent years, that how much the PM levels have been affecting the air. And once it comes to this uncontrolled burning of waste which is being done, which is not only usual at the not only common at the dump site, but also some of the common community level places as well, where this burning is usually done. And it's seemed to be a very simple and effective way for the citizens in these terms, once they see that if they are not educated that much on that level, then comes the role of awareness and education to those people. And yes, it leads to the impact on the public health, as said earlier, with the example of the Bandwari uh, WTE plant. So yes. So once it comes to the different types of waste that we can see in and around us, is usually the municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, biomedical waste, e-waste, organic waste, and the construction and demolition waste. But from the eyes of ours, which we usually see in our daily life, is usually the municipal solid waste, and that constitutes your plastic waste as well, obviously, and has been a more prevalent issue once it comes to plastic waste and municipal solid waste due to their mismanagement. I would not say that because of our generation it has been because we are generating it is leading to issues. Yes, it is, but the role of management do play a integral part in this sector. So municipal solid waste is always an issue in terms of mismanagement. So coming on to the next slide. So here we would see the contribution of each category of waste once it comes to municipal solid waste as such. Okay, so moreover, once we see the issue, it is only the 9% of this thing is plastics, but the rest stuff that we see, like whether it is with paper boards or yard waste or metals or food waste, glass, wood, and other. Excluding the others part, once it comes to the paper and paperboard based materials, and it is somewhere around 38%, and we already have a fixed economy that really works on this particular side, which we usually call as a scrap dealers. On the metals part as well, on the not on the glass, not on the food waste but glass. So there is a complete economy that really works on creating, on recycling it or refurbishing it, so that the new goods could be produced and it could be taken into the consideration of the circular economy. So informal sector has played a very important role in the previous years. If they would not have been into existence, then God knows how the issue would be. Then we would not be only solving the plastic waste issue, but also the other waste issues as well. Once it comes to food waste, the most prevalent thing that we can usually opt for is the composting, and at the individual level as well. And once it comes to the plastics, since plastics have been taken into the consideration, a lot of times that plastic is always an issue. But once it comes to plastic as a domain, not all the plastics are a very big issue for the humankind. And there is always an issue related to plastic constituting of the circular economy. Yes, we downgrade the plastic, okay, and recycling leads to the downgrade of plastic. But once it comes to concepts like upcycling, okay, then it really helps you to create the economy in the longer terms as well. Like in terms of upcycling, plastic waste, like the plastic bottles are nowadays being used to create threads out of it, which can be later used to make your clothes out of it. Like Nike has started up this initiative, and there are a majority of organizations in India as well. Like Bisleri has been taken up those initiatives. So there are organizations who are taking up the initiatives, but in terms of the plastic waste, how the economy really works, with the help of the rules that came into existence in 2016, stating the extended producer responsibility concepts, once it comes to plastic waste management and e-waste management, then it really helped to create the circular economy, as well as it helped to gain the status of the formal sector as such to these informal guys who were working every now and then to safeguard these waste like paper, metal, glass. So they were already working on these sites, so have been really formalized, but still only 5% of the total sector have been formalized as such, and there is more 95% to be solved. So yeah, so coming on to the next slide. Let's switch it to the next slide. Yes, so important R's in waste management. So 3 R's have been the thing that we really hear a lot, but now more beyond the 3R is 5R concept, and that is usually called reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, responsibly dispose. Or you can take responsibly dispose as refuse as well. So whatever you can refuse in terms of the things that you don't need. Recover is, all the concepts are not really new to the people that I hope that people who have joined this conversation. So would be skipping this thing. So yeah, let's come on to the next slide. So the methods of disposal. So there are around somewhere around 6 methods that I have stated over here, but there are many more once it comes to specifically to each type of waste. But to be on the broader perspective, which everyone would be able to relate to, is composting, compaction, shredding and reduction, pyrolysis, incineration, and landfilling. So landfilling, we have seen this landfilling concept has been a most used disposal method and has been creating a lot of chaos for us now. And once it comes to concepts like pyrolysis, this is not a new concept as such, but have been upgraded a lot. Like with the help of pyrolysis, nowadays industry is producing fuel, which is now being utilized by the industry to industrial level to run their machines as well. and this fuel is majorly used and has a high calorific value as well. So nevertheless, and didn't even produce sort of a high level of pollutions in terms of PM particles. So, but there are issues once it comes to pyrolysis in the production level, at the production level, because during the production of this fuel, there is a lot of carbon emissions and other particulate matters as well. So people have been working a lot on terms of pyrolysis, but the prevalent situations which have been prevalent industries like the conventional industries who have been working into pyrolysis are still working on how we can make it more optimized with the help of the polymer engineers or the chemical engineers. Shredding and reduction is the technique that that is most commonly used at the material recovery facility centers or the collection centers. So this is usually done to reduce the volume so that it can really help in terms of the transportation. And compaction is the same thing that comes to the shredding and reduction part. Now coming on to the composting is the thing that can be taken up at the individual level as such. And composting has been practiced a lot in the past as well. Once it comes to kitchen waste, we in the past we do had a kitchen garden concept as such, but due to rapid urbanization and population growth, we are unable to see those kitchen garden concepts uh, in our metro cities. But yes, it is still working in terms of rural areas or at the grassroots levels. So composting is majorly practiced, but yes, there are solutions once it comes for the metropolitan people who are living in cities like Delhi and Mumbai. There are solutions or the solution providers which help you to work on the individual level with your small actions. So coming on to the next slide. So since we have been discussing a lot in the meanwhile about what is the waste management sector all about, then once it comes to considering the sector with the financial perspective, how is the industry growing and how we can project ourselves if we see ourselves as a person into this particular sector as such. Okay, so once it comes to this industry, so it is a 2.3 trillion US dollar in terms of monetary terms. In 2027 it is projected based on the compound annual growth rate of 5.5% from 2020 levels. And also as per the reports by Deloitte, uh, it has been projected that it will be somewhere around 6.72% of compound annual growth rate once it comes to this industry as such, not only specifically limited to solid waste management, but waste management industry as such. Okay. And also once it comes to the domain, why it is going to give us such more significant potential as in terms of increasing why this sector has been observing such a massive growth is just because of the fact that there is a rapid urbanization and population growth. Uh, and once it comes to India as such, these facts have been really true. We have been observing a majority of the trends in terms of rapid urbanization and population growth. And this is not the terms by like these two observations have been given into the study by Deloitte itself. And also you can check this thing on the internet as well. So, yeah. So these two major factors has been a major contributor to the growth of this industry. So to the next slide. So I used the term earlier during this conversation was beyond volunteering. So we have been observing this sector as in terms of volunteering very much. It is true that the industry requires you as a volunteer to contribute and give your contribution as a citizen to this sector. But yes, once it comes to beyond volunteering, there are a lot of opportunities as such. So why there is a lot of opportunity. So here are the 4 pointers I have put down over in this slide. One of the pointer is that the Indian garbage would offer a business opportunity of 14 billion US dollars by 2025. And the second point is only 45% of the MSW is treated as of now in India. So this is as per the reports by the Global Recycling. And the third point that I have uh, written over there here is that more than 50% remains untreated and gets dumped. Okay. And the fourth pointer over here is there's a massive investment opportunities for the private players. So once it comes to the rectification for the last point, so if you know about the organization based out in Ahmedabad, NEPRA, NEPRA, they recently raised funds of somewhere around 200 crores for their waste recycling plant. And since they are expanding, they are planning to expand it to 29 major cities in India in terms of partnering with the municipal level municipalities to collect, recover, and recycle on the concept of collect, recover, and recycle. So there are other organizations as well, but yes, majorly this can be a rectification to the last pointer as well. And yeah, so coming on to the next point, like I said earlier about the extended producer responsibility model. Okay, so this was the concept which was being introduced in 2016 in the e-waste management rules and solid waste plastic waste management rules. And there has been a major upgrades once it comes to amendments in 2018, 19. 2020 was a bit issue in terms of plastic waste management, so it got delayed. So 2021, we are hoping that in 2021 it would be introduced with the new changes. So how this EPR model really works. So this is well conveyed through the pictorial presentation. And that's how the most of the industries or the PROs or the waste management companies are really earning for their expenses through these model which is running. This is not a new model as such. Have been working in the developed nations. So once it comes to this model, so how it really works is manufacturer produces its waste and gives it to the producer. So there comes the brand owner and there comes the consumer. So from the manufacturer to consumer, this is a supply chain of our consumption. So manufacturer produces this and the producers rent it to the brand owners give it to the consumers. This is how the really works on the hierarchical level. Okay, so from the consumer, there is a waste generation. So after this waste generation concept, then comes the role of material recovery facility or the collection centers. So collection centers are the base of the pyramid who usually collects your waste. Okay, and they gives it to the material recovery facility after collecting your waste, and the material recovery facility then gives it to the producer responsible organizations or to the recycling authorities. Then comes up the way of reusing and recycling, and then this complete model really works in terms of the extended producer responsibility model. And to aware you of the fact that each packet or chips packet that you purchase comes with the feed from the owners, brand owners as well. Like if you consider the packet of Lays, then they do charge you somewhere around 10 paisa or 20 paisa for this recovery. Okay, and consider a situation since they are dealing in terms of India and how much amount of plastic waste they generate and how much they charge you for this. So it is the responsibility, and how they give income to these organizations is through this to implement this EPR models. In the recent news, if you have heard of Patanjali and Haldirams being imposed with the fine of not compiling with the EPR by the Central Pollution Control Board. And also in the recent amendments, these companies like Rajnigandha and toffee makers have been included into this PWM rules. So they are also linked into the consideration of the EPR model. Once it comes to the e-waste management as such, then there is a different working on how this EPR model really works. But in terms of the waste, solid waste, this is how it really works. And there have been concepts like plastic credits, carbon credits, which have been lent to the organizations who generate the waste. They purchases those credits from the organizations who handles the waste, and in that lieu, they provide the amount to the organizations to for the waste that they have generated through the in terms of credit. Okay, and this can be seen by the example of Hindustan Unilever. So the chief sustainability officer at Hindustan Unilever said in a statement that they are going to be neutral by 2030, and right now they are somewhere around 80% neutral in terms of giving it to in terms of the circular sustainability, in terms of whatever they are generating, they are taking it back from the consumers. So yeah, this is how they are looking to. So now coming on to the next slide. So like I said earlier, like we have been working a lot in terms of upskilling the youth, and this is something that you can always look for to if you are looking to work into this ecosystem and launching your career into this ecosystem once it comes to the waste management sector as such. And we have launched this boot camp program, which is a 2 months program, which you can look for, obviously, if you are a person who is looking to build some sort of a career into this sector. So yeah, so coming on to the last slide. So thank you all for being a patient audience to listening about this. And if you have any sort of questions or so, then really happy to entertain.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a glorious and topical presentation. We are ready for questions. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Ma'am, should I go ahead?
I just needed to ask the previous speaker, what kind of work is expected out of the students who would like to do summer internship under you?
So once it comes to summer internship with us at EcoChirp, then it is moreover into education or ground level projects. And once it comes to ground level projects, then it would be at the grassroots level in rural areas where we work with the partnered organizations. So these organizations are these locations are based out in Mount Himalayan regions in Himachal and Uttarakhand, where we work with the panchayat. Okay, so they can expect to work over there.
So number one, you will, so no, because I'm just looking at it, if any of our students want to do the summer internship, how should they go about it? So it's about an application process. Is there a selection process? What is it really?
Yes, we do expect a person to have a prior knowledge about the waste management, not only on the basic level, but should know how the economy really works in terms of plastic waste, how the economy really works. It should not be something like a person should not think of all the plastic waste as just a plastic waste, but should know how the income can be generated out of the plastic waste, since the person should be aware. Not a very good education as such, formal education required, but should be aware of the facts. Since
so can my students apply? Simple. Can my students apply?
Yeah, your students can apply. They can send me the email on the email that harshad@ecochirp.org. They can send the email. We have the applications open all the year round, so that would not be an issue.
So no, this right now I'm sure you're also down with this lockdown thing. So I'm not sure you're taking people into the rural parts. So this student can come in from any year in graduation, or is it a third year, second year, something like that?
Since our sector comes into essential services, so we are not closed on to the project sites where the project is happening. Okay. So we come into this. But if your students are not looking to relocate, since I see there might be the students mostly based out of Mumbai or Maharashtra. So we have our partnered organizations over there as well, which have been working in terms of waste management. Then we can surely help them to get
So
recruited over
Harshad,
there.
can we have an extended discussion on this, you and me, at a later time, where we can see what way we can escalate and bring it into a HR college? Is that a possibility, Harshad?
Yeah, sure. We can have a discussion on this, on how we can help you. I can help you to get the students internship over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Harshad. We will connect. Yes, Lisha, you may.
Now I would like to request Ms. Hamza to take over.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Harshad, for that very insightful session. I'm going to do a little more basic stuff. I'm not a big fan of talking big words, so excuse me for that. But I'd like this to be an interactive session. All of you feel free to unmute and answer, because I've got a couple of questions. I've got quizzes and all of that here. Let's rack our brains and let's try and understand a little bit on waste management. I'm going to start with a disclaimer. It's been 10 years that I have not sent out my wet waste out of my home. I don't have a dustbin. And I believe that, what I'm doing at home is something that's easily replicable, easily scalable, and definitely doable by anybody and everybody. So much so that even my 2-year-old enjoys doing what we do. So on that note, I'm just going to share a very brief presentation with all of you, and let's hear some voices on that. Just want to check, is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes,
Yeah?
ma'am. Yes.
Okay, great. I assume that it continues to be visible to all of you. Okay, so let's understand where we are today, right? I have a question for all of you. Do we live in a clean city or a village? And please unmute and answer.
Mine is on the verge of becoming a clean city.
Okay, so we aren't there yet. Okay. Anybody else? No, I see people saying, no, we don't live in a clean city or a village. Okay. I think we're half there. Kabhi kabhi saaf lagta hai, kabhi kabhi bahut ganda hota hai. How many of you agree with me on that? Yeah? Okay. And what's the present situation of waste that is generated from our own? Sab kuch ek dabbe mein chala jata hai?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Kya do alag dabbe mein chala jata hai? Does it go in 2 different dabbas?
Yes, dry and waste.
Dry and wet waste. Okay.
Wet waste. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Somebody was saying something. Okay. Any other responses? Okay. Do you segregate your waste at home? How many of you segregate? No? No? No segregation at home? The law says that we need to segregate 4 ways. Okay. And I'm going to talk to you about how you can do this and how you can essentially make sure that you don't have a dustbin at home. You're not going to need one. And trash is everywhere, just like Harshad was just giving us insights on, landfills and other things. And I think some of you have also participated in some of these cleanup drives. You've seen trash on the beach, you see trash up in the Himalayas, you see, this is what a landfill looks like. Amazing, right? Man-made mountains, mountains and mountains of absolutely dirty stuff that we don't know how to deal with, right? And this is what looks inside of a landfill. Great biodiversity, by the way. You see crows, cows, pigs, dogs, people, everybody there. And of course, and the invisible insects and, the unnecessary stuff that's also there is not visible here. And I want to talk about how this starts, right? It all comes down to what is happening with our present system of collection and dumping. And we seem to be concentrating on collection and dumping when we talk about waste management. So here, I'm in an apartment of about 10-15 homes. From my apartment, I've got, everything gets dumped onto a common bin. From that, if not from a common bin, it's, collected from door to door. From there, it goes onto a truck. That truck goes and dumps it somewhere. And that place where things are dumped looks like this, right? How sad that people are not able to see resources in this, huh? And that brings me to a very important question. How much trash do you and I produce together in a day? And let's think about this. How much? 20 kilo, 30 kilo, 1 kilo, 2 kilo. How many kilos of waste do you generate in a day? Any responses? Any wild guesses?
Around 1 kg.
1 kg, okay. Anybody else?
2 to 3 maybe. 2
Yeah,
2 to
2
3
to
kg,
3.
maybe 2 to 3, yeah. And that 2 to 3 kgs are like different things, no? Like it's not just your kitchen waste. It's also stuff like plastic. It's also stuff like, my chai ka cup broke today. It could have that. It could have like, a menstrual pad. It could have like, a bunch of other things. It could have earbuds. It could have like a tissue that somebody sneezed into. It could be like a whole set of different things. Now imagine you had to segregate this trash and somebody gave you a big bucket of 100 kilos of trash, everything put together, and tells you, hey, make a livelihood out of this, and now you segregate all of this, jo bika usme se wo tumhara, but ye kaam tumhara hai. Would you do that job? No, you wouldn't. Right? And here there is a huge class of population, huge group of people who do this and who are often called as the informal economy, dealing with the trash that is voluminous in its entity. So the law now is with them, saying that the onus of segregating is no longer theirs, but the onus of segregation actually lies with us, with you and me, at our homes, at our schools, at our institutions, at our places where we get together. And so therefore it's important for us to fundamentally understand what is in our trash and what in our trash do we need to manage very well, right? So I'm going to take you through a bunch of different categories that all of you are familiar with, but you need to sort of understand in different buckets as what it is. So the first one is, of course, organic waste. I think all of us are very familiar, leftover fruit, fruit peels, leaves, twigs, floor sweepings, any kind of flowers from your puja room, even hair for that matter, nails, all of this is organic waste, right? The second one, sabke ghar pe ek dikka newspaper is very, very safely well guarded and to be given to the raddi wala. Yeah, that's how I made my pocket money as a child, by the way. And I loved making sure that every tiny bit of paper added onto that volume of raddi, right? Because that meant 1 rupee more to me. So paper is always kept separately in an Indian home. Then the next one, if you have a grandmother with you, she will really, really do a great justice to this plastic, right? You'll see her folding, washing all the milk bags, making sure that everything is, kept aside, stored very well. Kab, kahan, kaise kaam aa jayega, pata nahi, right? So that's plastic for you. Then there's glass, right? So you have glass jars, you'll have the Dettol bottles, purane zamane ka Dettol bottles, by the way. Abhi everything comes in plastic. Then you have like, lab bottles, or you may have drinking glasses and so on and so forth. Then there's metal, right? Your cool Pepsi can that you have, like aluminium, steel, foil, etc., etc. Then there's electronic waste. Who doesn't like this kind of stuff? We're all hooked onto it. But what happens at the end of its life? It's actually electronic waste. It's got a bunch of metals. It's got a bunch of different things that needs to be pulled apart differently. So therefore, it's electronic waste. Then there's, of course, the usual stuff, right? Like the sanitary waste, a sanitary pad, or condoms or diapers or a used tissue paper, that, is categorized as a sanitary waste. And then there's, of course, mixed stuff. Like I told you, that big digara of, say, 50 kilos of mixed waste, sab kuch ek saath dal diya, and then somebody has to sit and, take care of what we need to do. But here's the thing, if we can take care of this one particular type of waste, which is which is your organic waste, and if you compost it and you keep everything else clean, we probably don't need to overload our municipal system. You don't need to load any system if you can just take care of it and create an alternative system. At the end of all of this, our system falls short of dealing with hazardous waste. Now, let me give you an example of hazardous waste. Kitno ke ghar ke ya neighbors mein COVID hua hai and we don't know what to do with it? Yeah, ever thought about what happens to the waste from a person who has used things and has to be disposed of? It has to be taken, it has to be catered differently, and that's also called biomedical waste. There's also thermocol, which nobody wants to pick up because there's nothing that we can do with it, and the Government of India regulation law, all of it describes that as hazardous waste. So kya kare? What do we do about it, right? Plastic, often when we see what happens to plastic, is that a lot of it is clean, put apart, put together in a gatta machine, baled together, and then pellets are made and they're categorized and further sold again into the market. Milk bags need to be cut like this, because every small bit of plastic that you can make sure that doesn't go out of your system will make sure that it doesn't clog in different places, it doesn't get caught in different places, no other species needs to eat it. Similarly, how do you do a simple system of managing our stuff, right? So before you do that, I also want you to think about what's in a Tetra Pak, right? All of us love our Tropicana and real fruit juice. So what's really in that? We also need to understand and give a little bit of thought to how we are consuming and what are we consuming. So Tetra Pak essentially has 4 different types of things, 2 of which is 2 types of plastics. One is the aluminium, which is 5% of the silver kind of lining that you see. It's also often replaced with plastic these days, but it's sort of like a Tetra Pak. Standard Tetra Pak will have these 4 different things. Aluminium, the caps, the inner lining is plastic, and then the 75% of it is cardboard. Now what happens is when the cardboard is packed with plastic on both sides, it doesn't degrade, and that's how things stay fresh in a Tetra Pak. So imagine you may have like a lot of Tetra Paks. It's really difficult to pull them apart and to see how you can actually get them segregated on for future use, right? So we're also generating biomedical waste at home, and this is interesting to know, right? Because I know that my friends' grandparents have regularly test for sugar, and they have those blood-filled things that sort of need to be disposed of. Some people need insulin injections, so all of that is also there at home. So these are things that we need to be mindful of. What are the different types of waste that we're generating at our homes? And then we need to also understand what the solution is. So the first one, I gave the answer that we need to do a 4-way segregation, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But if there are any questions at this point of time, maybe we can take that and then I can jump in ahead. Any questions? No? Okay, so we'll move ahead. What's the solution, right? The first thing is to do a 4-way segregation at home, right? So you have a dabba for your wet waste, you have a dabba for your clean dry waste, and I'll talk to you a little bit more in detail about that. You have a dabba for your electronic waste, and then you have a dabba for your sanitary waste, right? So you may wonder, are yaar, she was saying there was supposed to be no dustbins, but now she wants us to have 4 bins. What is she talking about? So I'm going to give you a little bit of insight on this. Why is there no dustbin? Because all of those are resource bins in our house, right? So how do you store each of this? And then we'll address about how these bins transform how your house looks, right? So your wet waste needs to be stored in a closed container with no lining or paper lining. Yeah. Once you've emptied it either at your society level or you've composted it, you can just wash and reuse this dabba. Right? So no need for a dustbin, no need for something to, just be there just like that. Your dry waste needs to be washed, right? So, in this lockdown, all of us have been missing eating out with friends and colleagues. So if you order something from Zomato or Swiggy, wash them and, put them out to dry in the sun or in an aerated space to make sure that they are washed and clean. Create a small container or like an Amazon carton or something like that you have for electronic waste, and make sure that you don't need to open this dabba every day because you don't generate e-waste on an everyday. If you've not switched to reusable batteries, I bought mine about 10 years ago and they're still going strong. Make that switch. It's great to make sure that You don't have leaching batteries coming out of your home. Sanitary waste, all of it needs to be wrapped in a newspaper, double wrapped in a red dot. The red dot is an indicator that the waste picker or the collector who is coming to your home does not open that particular packet. And it's very, very important that we do this. So essentially, from my home, we have only the sanitary waste going once in 4 to 5 months. I'll talk about that a little later. Our wet waste is composted at home. We make sure that we've not bought soil in the last 3.5 years. We're growing everything in our balcony garden right from compost. And it's a great way to teach and inspire neighbors. It was a great fun activity in this lockdown, actually, where we taught a lot of people to make compost. We reduced the need for frontline workers to land up at our home. All the dry waste in our building actually goes to a recycler. We have a direct tie-up. And as far as the sanitary waste is concerned, that's the only place where we need the municipal system to do what it needs, what they need to do with it, right? So at that, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to open the floor for a quiz. Can we have some responses in terms of the type of waste that you see on the screen? Yeah. So what type of waste do you see?
Plastic waste,
Yeah, plastic. What type of waste do you see?
organic waste,
Yeah. So there's shoes. There are a lot of shoes which are thrown out. So what kind of waste are they? No responses?
No idea.
Yeah. So they're a very difficult category because they have rubber at the bottom, some cotton on the top, canvas on the top, and then there's foam, and then there's all sorts of other things as well. I would call it a mixed waste. I know that a lot of people call it dry waste, but there's the biggest challenge today that we face is what do we do with our old shoes? And really think a little bit on what kind of change we can bring to do with our old shoes. What kind of waste is this?
digital waste,
Yeah, e-waste. Yes.
Yeah.
What kind of waste is this?
metal waste,
Yeah, metal. What kind of waste is this?
Glass waste.
Glass. But how do you dispose glass? And that too broken glass.
Dry, like to wrap it in a newspaper or something and then to throw it.
Yes. So the key part is when you have broken glass or an old mug that has broken, make sure that you... Sorry? Did someone say something? Okay.
No, ma'am, you can go ahead.
Just mute everyone, please.
Yeah. So basically, when you have glass which is broken, or say maybe ceramic which is broken, one of the things we need to do is always double bag it or secure it in a container that will not get the broken glass outside. So you could use an old cardboard dabba, which is has good thickness, and write on top that there is broken glass either in the local language or in English. But make sure that you write what is inside. That sort of prevents somebody to open it and to get hurt. If you have a good rapport with your municipal collection system, then please do tell them that there is broken glass. They normally have a small dabba or a small bag kept aside for this. What type of plastic is this? No responses?
Ma'am, we've muted them, I think, so they can respond in the chat box.
Okay, so yeah, plastic.
Respond in the chat box.
Okay, yeah, so this is plastic, yes, but this is also HDPE and LDPE plastic, very easy to recycle. What kind of waste is this?
Dry waste, thermocols.
Yeah, thermocol. And there's not an efficient collection system for thermocol. In Pune, I know that there is a separate day kept aside in the month where thermocol is picked up separately. But thermocol is a tricky thing. It falls under hazardous waste, so nobody wants to pick it up, and because it's very voluminous in the sense that it doesn't weigh much, but there's a lot of volume to it. It's a tricky thing. Recently, there has been an alternative to thermocol, which is called fluoroform. You can look that up and you can see what that is about. It talks about the same lightweight packing material technology that thermocol offers, except that it's biodegradable. So you could, it looks very similar to your eggshell cartons and things like that. So you could just compost it right in your backyard, right? What kind of waste is this?
Organic waste?
Leaves and
Yeah.
all.
Organic waste, leaf litter, garden waste. What kind of waste is this? Sanitary waste. Yes, that's correct. What's wrong in this picture? I know it's 3 o'clock and sabka chai pine ka time ho gaya hai, but you know, let's.
Segregation.
Sorry, can somebody elaborate on that?
Like these packets are out and we have the wet waste segregated, but these packets, maybe because of these it's wrong. It should be in the black polythene.
Okay, first of all, black polythene hona hi nahi chahiye. Yeah. Do you also see organic waste inside the plastic bag? The milk packet, see how it's cut? Okay. How many components in a Tetra Pak? Quick recap. 2, 3, 5, 7, 4.
4.
4, right. Aluminium, cardboard, and 2 different types of plastics, right? So 4 parts. True or false? Old clothes cannot be upcycled. I know teachers are very tempted to say this, but can't be upcycled.
Yes.
Yeah, they can be upcycled. Yes, they can be upcycled. You can make a whole lot of stuff from them. I'm sure Google search is enough for all of you to know what it is. So I'm going to come down to a little more fun part, right? So 365 kilos of garbage. I used to generate about 1 kilo of waste until I changed a little bit of my habit, but now I generate about 2.5 kilos. Most of it is fruit peels, vegetable peels, and all of that gets composted. But if you take on an average that, you know, I generate 1 kilo per day, 365 kgs of waste does not go to a landfill. And instead, what happens is a lot of citrus peels gets converted into bioenzyme and pulp. These are the cleaners that I use. I no longer buy Harpic, Surf Excel, and any of those fancy stuff. I actually use soda, baking soda, nimbu, and things like that to clean my home. My grandmother would be really laughing from heaven, because I remember when she used to do it, I used to be like, what is wrong with you? How sad you are. Why can't you move and do things like that? I used to say that. But she must really be giggling and chuckling in heaven right now, wondering what her granddaughter is doing. And I can swear by some of these things, they clean far superior than any of the chemical laden products that are available today in the market. The plus point of that is that much less plastic to actually manage at the end of it, right? So this shift has been great fun. We buy soap nuts as much as we need from our local kirana wala here. And it's great fun to talk to him because he has insights about ye soap nut kahan se aaya hai. So it's like a nice engaging conversation when your local resource person has lots of knowledge to share with you as well. I've switched to sustainable menstrual hygiene and other personal hygiene choices for my child. I cloth diapered my 2-year-old exclusively. There was not one disposable diaper that we used, you know, even through sleepless nights and things like that. So that makes sure that our sanitary waste bin is not filled up at all. We need it very occasionally once in a while. We cook from scratch. All of the things that you see here, we've made it. I make my own masala powder, and you may wonder, what does waste management have to do with this lady making masalas at home? Plastic की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती है, because everything that I buy, everything is in bulk, is made sure that the best is cooked for all of us at home. And my garden is like this place jahan roz kuch ho raha hai. Okay, it has breaking news every 2 minutes, because some butterfly, some bird is coming in, and it's like this constant thing. So the butterfly, the pupa, and the caterpillar that you see are actually from our garden. We host them. Our kadi patta, our lemon plants get these caterpillars. We don't spray any pesticides. In fact, we bring them, we make sure that they're secure, they have good enough ample place to eat. My 2-year-old loves feeding them kadi patta, and we love watching the butterfly emerge. And we realized that we've grown much closer to nature, because we started with composting, and we do now a whole set of things. And it's great fun to see a butterfly emerge from its cocoon. In case any of you haven't done it, bring a kadi patta plant today. It's like almost their breeding season, and you'll really be amazed at what nature has to offer for you. I want to stop here, and I want to tell you that all of this didn't happen overnight. It's been a decade of doing waste management at home, at talking to different people, trying to bring systems in place for waste management. And I've been patient with myself. Every time my compost bin smelled bad, I didn't throw it away. I started from scratch. I fixed it. I learned the art of doing consistently. And every time I see an earthworm in my pot, I'm so grateful that I've been able to give back something to nature. Somebody said that this is the decade of restoration. Composting is a great way to restore and give back to nature. It's extremely addictive. You can't go back to appreciating the yellow gold that all of our mothers love buying for us. Kala Sona is the real thing. It's the real gem. If you've ever been addicted to composting, you will not go back. I will leave you with this thought that waste management starts with you, with me, our habits, our lifestyle. And it's really cool to be an eco nut at the end of the day. So maybe an assignment that all of you can do at the end of this is, just observe, record, and reflect in terms of what is happening in your homes. I know college isn't there, and it's probably not going to be there for a couple of more weeks, months. We don't know what it is. But can we start by not abusing our dustbin? Can we, do away with the fact that we need to have a dustbin? Can we not have resource bins? Can we not have more composting, buckets? Can we not have, less waste going from our home and, connecting them to more recyclers? And maybe if all of us do it together, we are about 45 odd people on this call. All of us do it together, that's 45 into 365 kilos of waste that will not go to a landfill, and that's a large number, and that's a number that we can all take to our graves with pride. And on that note, I will leave you with my coordinates. Feel free to get in touch. I run a small store called ecoproductsindia.in, helping people to make the sustainable shift. We're also going to be doing a couple of workshops on different things like natural cleaners and stuff like that. So, feel free to connect, and, be very happy to engage further. With that, I stop.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your presentation was really very penetrating and lively. I hope very few people knew about these ways to prevent waste. We are ready for questions. If you have any questions, please go ahead.
There's a question in the chat box.
Yeah, so basically when you want to wash your dry waste, you just wash it like any of your vessel. For me, for example, if I were to take my milk bag, I often have like a small glass of hot water that I wash the milk bag with, so there's nothing sticky left on it. Similarly, when there's food from Swiggy or Zomato or anything, we also like to order in sometimes. We soak it in some hot water to make sure that all the oily stuff just comes out of it. Soaking it in soap water is like the fastest way to do it. So if you have like a small mug, you can just fill half of it with some hot water, some soap, soak everything, and you'll realize that half your effort is actually done. If not soap, you could use Rita solution. You could just quickly wash it under the tap and make sure that there's no organic waste stuck to your dry waste. Essentially, if you have anything sticking to it, you will invite a lot of unnecessary elements such as maggots, other kind of flies, and it will start smelling for sure. So basically, when you wash, it has to be absolutely clean.
Well, I'll have a question. What do you do with the e-waste that is now coming out more often? It could be a cell phone or a computer or a mouse or wires. How do we get rid of those?
So there are a lot of authorized recyclers or refurbishers who pick up this e-waste. So what we don't have value, they definitely see the value because there's a lot of metal stuff in it, like copper, aluminum, and things like that. But the key here and the onus of responsibility that we have to identify is an authorized recycler. So if you look at your pollution control board website, they will at least have some 5 or 6 listed recyclers who are approved by them. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to ask, whether your neighbors are already tied up with someone, because more often than not, there is somebody who's servicing your area already. So it just makes sense to plug onto an existing system rather than set up a new system. So that is one way to go about with it. My recommendation is going to an authorized recycler.
Any more questions from the students?
I think I have a comment to make and a statement to make. An excellent session by Harshad and Hamza, because there are many things like I would not know. As she said that she's proud that she has not given any garbage outside her house since such a long time. And I think this becomes a very, very good example for all our students. As we begin, I told them that even if you begin one society and there are 45 people becoming 45 societies, I'm sure there are neighbors who are willing to copy you such good things and such good practices. So I would appreciate if Hamza and Harshad can help us design some could be a 30-hour session on how do you get on to doing a compost, how do you show them live, or how do you recycle at home, something covering what we did today is into like a session, a live demo, that if you do this at your homes, in your kitchens. I'm sure we have smaller kitchens, but we have a smaller place below wash basins that we can use to store our wet waste, and maybe balconies to store and create compost at homes itself, rather than throwing it out and harming our own mother nature. So I would request Nature Club and Dr. Chandni and Dr. Rani to like do a workshop session on how do you actually do a compost, and the children sit with you for 30 days and see 15 days may they have a compost at home. Maybe it will be
time, ma'am. I ran a session with BMN College of Home Science, and I continue to run it for their first years. We had 120 girls who learned how to compost. It was a proper structured waste management session. 75
Lovely.
of them came back showing me their photograph of their compost. So it's absolutely doable, and it's so addictive, you can't stop. It's just like eating Maggie, but much better and healthier.
That's what I want, that even if you start with these 40 and they go and tell their 40 societies, I think we will make a difference to some part of the society and the nature. And I would suggest Nature Club and Hamza to collaborate. And I actually put my camera off and I was going through Facebook page of Hamza, and what interesting things that you all do. I would suggest please bring it to the students, and these youth are the change makers, and they are the change agents. And you know, when they tell their parents and their societies, people listen to them. They have that kind of persona. So I would suggest, so the new initiative that Nature Club can take is always a program on composting, and how do you do it at home, or something like a mini gardens at your home. Some plants like which are there, which are oxygen generators, which are those that we can keep it at home. And I think these kind of ideas will help these children and create more and more knowledgeable sessions. So we're looking forward to Nature Club taking up with Hamza and Harshad onto these. So nice and wonderful session. I stayed back. I thought I will leave by addressing you all. But whenever it is time to learn, I think I also learn, because it helps me and my home. And I think wonderful session, Harshad and Hamza. I appreciate. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring words. I just needed to ask Hamza ma'am or Harshad sir, would any one of you have an expert who can help us do a session on hydroponics?
Yes, I do.
You do have, ma'am?
Yeah.
Because I was looking at Van Mahotsav, and since this year we cannot do the Van Mahotsav officially, I thought if we could just initiate a session for on hydroponics, where we can all raise something at home and see how well we could do that. So,
Sure.
ma'am, if you could share the connect
sure.
with us, then we can reach out to the expert and have a session. Thank you so much.
I'll connect you to that person on an email, so we can take it.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Soon the feedback form link will be shared in the chat box. Please fill it before leaving. Coming to the end of our today's insightful webinar, I would like to propose the vote of thanks for today's session. Respected Principal Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, Vice Principal Dr. Naveen Pujari, Professor Rani Tyagi, our teacher in charge Dr. Chandni Bhattacharjee, all the teachers present for this event, and my dear friends. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks today. I, Ms. Lisha Jain, a member of Nature Club of HR College, on behalf of the entire club, extend a heartfelt thanks to all those who have helped us in making this event successful. I would like to thank our speakers, Ms. Hamza Iyer and Mr. Harshad Gupta, for making a wonderful and topical presentation. I would also like to thank Pooja ma'am and Naveen sir for sparing their valuable time to address our program. I would also thank our coordinator, Professor Rani Tyagi, and our teacher in charge, Dr. Chandni Bhattacharjee, for our guidance and moral support. The event coordinators have put in a lot of effort for making the seminar a success. I would like to appreciate them and also the volunteers and the members of Nature Club who have supported them. Lastly, I thank the wonderful participants from our college who formed the heart of the event. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Very good
Thank you,
session.
Harshad sir.
Well done.